Well, hello, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I am here with two amazing therapists from the Houston Center for Valued Living. I have Kathryn and Christen. So thank you so much for being here. So I will tell you guys a little bit about who they are, and then we're going to dive in to learn more about their incredible boutique psychotherapy and counseling agency. So, at the Houston Center for Value Living, they are dedicated to crafting a sanctuary where healing flourishes with their personalized approach to therapy, guided by compassion and deep expertise. You're going to hear about their expertise today, that they empower individuals to embark on a journey of profound transformation and growth. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
So
having
why
me.
don't you guys tell me a little bit about each of your areas of expertise?
Sure. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
start. So, I'm Catherine, and I am a perinatal mental health specialist, which means that I work with moms anywhere from infertility to pregnancy to the postpartum period. I see moms with mood and anxiety disorders during that time. Um, and what about you?
So, my name's Kristen, and I specialize in working with anxiety disorders, particularly obsessive compulsive disorder,
Mm.
working with individuals and also families.
Yes.
Yeah, when the whole system is struggling, we have ways to help you out.
Excellent. And the reason why I wanted to have these two ladies here is because as a business that also works with families and mothers and parents and children, the two things that I frequently see in my practice is mothers that are struggling with postpartum mood disorders and or families where either the mother is struggling with anxiety, the child is struggling with anxiety, the dad is struggling, and then therefore the family system is struggling. So I think it's just so important that we bring this work to the forefront and talk about it so that families can have an understanding and gain accurate and reliable information so that they feel supported. So tell me a little bit more on how you created the Houston Centered for Value Living, which, by the way, is a female owned business, which is why I am interviewing them because for WO3 month, we're all about partnering, promoting, supporting women owned businesses that are doing amazing things out in the world that maybe you've never heard of. That the month of March is all about highlighting those businesses. So tell us more about your amazing boutique therapy.
Sure.
You want to start?
Sure. Well, I can tell you a little bit more about the practice. We have several clinicians right now, all women, which we're really excited. So we're a growing practice with a variety of therapists that specialize in um, all different kinds of mental health concerns. And so our goal is to be able to help a variety of people with um, various issues. But do you want to talk about
Yeah.
how we created it?
So let's.
Yeah.
Catherine and I met in grad school and became fast friends. It's great. We got to carpool a lot. It's a beautiful
We
thing.
did, yeah.
And after grad school, we both went into positions at agencies that we enjoyed working at, but eventually just kind of reached a point where we were not able to continue walking out the same things that we were attempting to help our clients with, right? This focus on valued living, living your life every day in the way that you desire to, based on what's important to you. And we wanted to create a space where we could do that. We wanted to spend time with our families. We wanted to go to all the things that our kids had going on, right? We didn't want to miss anything.
Mhm.
And creating the Houston Center for Valued Living gave us an opportunity to do that. And at the same time, we were super aware that this was a problem just in our industry where therapists were working at places where you don't get to choose your hours, you don't get to choose the population you're working with at times. You also sometimes don't even get to choose the treatment modality that you're utilizing with clients. We
Mhm.
wanted to give people a space or therapists a space where they could come in and thrive working and doing the things that they enjoy doing.
Mhm.
And we wanted to provide a place for clients to come where, like Catherine was saying, where, listen, we can address a litany of issues that you may have going on across a lot of the lifespan.
And you're going to work with a therapist who's really excited about
Yes.
working with whatever you're coming into the office with, because they've
Yes.
chosen that path and they're really passionate about it.
Right. And I think what you just said is so important is you said two things. One, lifespan, right? So let's talk about kind of like the spectrum of the types of therapy that you guys offer, right? So we've got Kathryn that does postpartum. And then I think you guys mentioned you have a therapist for for young, toddlers and parenting concerns.
Yeah.
You've got grief.
Mhm.
You've got trauma.
Mhm.
You've got, anxiety, which is like across the the
Yeah,
entire,
all of it.
right? And I think you said there's another specialist that you have too.
So we have someone that specialized also in eating issues. So
Oh yeah.
eating
Body
and
image.
body image
Mhm.
struggles. And another big thing that we've seen a lot also is church hurt. She right, like this idea that's, I think we finally put a label on things and we're able to talk about it. And depressive issues that stay on the life, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think that's so important. So what I'm hearing that makes the Houston Center for Valued Living so distinctive is you have a group of women that have expertise
Mhm.
in certain really important niches, right? So a niche in trauma, a niche in postpartum, mood disorders, a niche in insomnia, a niche in eating disorders, right? And so when you go, you are getting that therapist who loves her job because she has autonomy and
Yes.
she's living her valued life because she's in this grouping of women that wanted to create a practice where you are walking your talk, really,
Yes.
which I just love, right? So like the energy must feel so good for a client because their therapist isn't burned out. Their therapist loves where they're working, and their
Mhm.
therapist is getting to do exactly the type of therapeutic work they had intended to share their knowledge and their passion for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love that. I love that. And so let's talk about what you're noticing today with clients, especially clients that are parents
Mm.
and first-time parents, because that's our shared, I work with families, you guys work with families, so I'd love to have each of you guys reflect from your area of expertise.
Sure. Well, there's been a lot of awareness about postpartum depression. And so a lot of moms are prepared for the baby blues or feeling really down or maybe not connecting to their baby. But what tends to surprise women is when they have a ton of anxiety that no one really talked to them about. And this can start even in pregnancy.
Mhm.
There's a growing problem with infertility, in this country. And so you can go with moms that have already been through so many challenges, losses, difficulties, and are going into the postpartum period with enough trauma under their belt already.
So
Um,
true.
yeah, and in the postpartum period, anxiety can present as difficulty sleeping, constant worry about your baby, not wanting to leave your baby with anybody else. Can also be avoidance of your baby, being fearful that you're going to accidentally do something that's going to harm your baby. Irritability, rage,
Mhm.
conflict in your relationship. It can span a ton of different symptoms, but I'm seeing a lot of
Intrusive
that.
thoughts, intrusive
Intrusive thoughts,
thoughts.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Postpartum OCD happens.
it does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does happen. This is a common issue. And I've been in the OCD world for a long time, or a little bit, a minute and a half.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I think while we are getting better about educating um, society about postpartum issues, there are all these little surprises in there. And postpartum OCD is one of them, where often women, when they finally come in, they have felt so crazy, so invalidated, so fearful, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the first time moms, oh my gosh, they're going to take my baby away if I tell somebody this.
Mhm.
And finally coming into a space where, they can sit across from another human who knows. And, we can offer them this just reassurance. You're not crazy. You're not alone. This is common. Here, read all of these things or check this out over here, where
Mhm.
many people are describing the exact same thing that you're struggling with.
Yes, let's talk a moment about postpartum OCD because I see it a lot in my practice, and and I'm usually the first one to mention it,
Mm, yeah, yes,
which is really hard because it's shocking to them, in the sense that they're like, "Uh-oh, you're right."
yeah.
These aren't just intrusive thoughts. They are, "I'm washing these bottles 30 times."
Mhm,
Or I check the front door 30 times, or I wake up all night long to double check that they're breathing.
mm,
And I just thought that this was me being anxious or
right.
overly attentive, but it's making me crazy. And even if my husband comes in and tries to say, "Come, don't worry, I'll check on him. I'll check on him at 2 AM." She can't not do the check.
Yeah.
And so so for those of you that are out there and listening to this and you're struggling and you can identify with this, please go get help. There's amazing people like Kristen right here that want to help, that are ready to help, and you're not crazy.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk about like just OCD for a minute, right? Like the average time it takes a human being to get properly diagnosed and in with a trained provider, right? Like that specializes in OCD is 10 years. And I can't imagine a mom experiencing postpartum symptoms and holding on to those for a long time, fearful that she's going to be punished by society or told she's a bad mom or just capitalizing on all of those fears that I think women naturally carry around anyway.
Right.
So, absolutely, if you are struggling, reach out to someone. There are
Right.
many providers across the country who are passionate and ready to help you if you're struggling.
Right. And Catherine, you could probably comment on that is that when it's triggered by postpartum, like you're not doomed for forever and ever,
No,
No.
right?
definitely not. I think that's the one great thing about it is like with treatment, it gets better. It's not something that you have to experience for the rest of your life. And there's a ton of resources available.
Right. And the anxiety piece, like, so just kind of doubling back to like the postpartum part, like, again, like a lot of families that I work with, like the mom, she's not depressed, but I can tell she's anxious. So she's not OCD, she's not depressed, but there's like tremendous anxiety. And I say, there is something called postpartum mood disorders. And the new qualification is it's not just depression, it's anxiety. And it's like a light bulb goes off and they're like, why didn't anybody tell me?
Yes.
Why what you mean I this is real? Like, this is not just me being, again, like, anxious, right? Which we're already, everyone always uses the word anxiety so freely now. "Oh, I'm so anxious. Oh, I'm so stressed." So there's just no way for us to know, like, what's normal and what's not normal anymore. It gets harder and harder.
Absolutely.
So maybe you could talk about that a little bit more, like anxiety in general. I think that that's to help people qualify and understand where they might need support.
Sure. You can kind of think of it as a spectrum because most new parents are going to be anxious and anxiety is an emotion that we all need.
Mhm.
Why else would we, wake up to check on the baby, right? Or feed the baby if we didn't have anxiety. So it is an important emotion. It's just that when that gets in the way of things that are important to you, right? So your
Got
relationship
you.
is starting to suffer, because of maybe the behaviors that you're doing, or a lot of times anxiety can present as irritability
Mhm.
from age, especially in the postpartum period. I hear a lot of moms talking about, yelling at their kids, yelling at their husbands, feeling completely out of control of their emotions. And a lot of the times it's anxiety. Um, you can
So
have, yeah, intrusive thoughts obviously are very common. So much sometimes that they then lead to certain behaviors to try to make the thoughts go away or make themselves feel better when they have the thoughts. That's when we get into OCD. But
mhm.
we also have trauma, right? Trauma, actually, anxiety is a big symptom of trauma. So maybe you had a difficult birth or a difficult pregnancy or
Mm.
experienced some kind of loss. And so now you're having a ton of anxiety about, I hear a lot of people saying they're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yes.
You know, when's the next bad thing that's going to happen? Or they're having difficulty getting the images out of their head, or, you know, wrapping their brain around what they've experienced. And that can cause sleep difficulties. They're kind of hypervigilant. They're, you know, way too alert all the time, which might make eating difficult. Um, Really, even just doing normal activities, resting, relaxing. It's like they can't shut their brain off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like to describe it sometimes as like, it's like trying to live your life daily with a fire alarm blaring in your
Oh,
all the time. So hard.
so hard. Well, so you're just so distracted and overwrought.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So tell me more about kind of the because I know you're in the anxiety world, right? So the anxiety world can happen with younger children, the anxiety world can happen in the motherhood zone, it can happen. Yeah, I also know you deal also with insomnia. So can you kind of talk about like that, like, right? So that maybe like the dads that might be having anxiety or insomnia, like we're talking about mothers here, but it's a family system issue. Um, and one person might be struggling, but no one's seeing the struggle.
Absolutely. Anxiety can manifest, at any point in our lives. It doesn't discriminate with the intensity sometimes or the age of the human being, right? We can have young kids that have attachment issues, we can have even sleep anxiety, anxiety about getting to sleep, anxiety about, good grades,
Mhm.
right? One of the mantras that I hear from students a lot is, well, if I get good grades, I can get into a good school. And if I get into a good school and I do well there, and then my career will be okay. And then I'll get a good job. And when I have a good job, I'll be okay there and I'll make more money and I'll like constantly trying to achieve.
Right. And they'll have a baby, and then that baby will do.
Married. I'll get
Right.
married,
And
have kids, and
yeah,
that can be when I'm sitting across from a 13-year-old kid.
no kidding. Wow.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, and they're just already overwhelmed with expectations that they're loading on themselves and that they're encountering sometimes out in society.
Mhm.
And as we get into college, anxiety about relationships. Um, the most common anxiety is public speaking anxiety. I think
Mhm.
everybody has that.
Mhm.
Um, just, and I think with a lot of times with parents, whether it's a dad or a mom, a lot of it is the expectation to be everything to everyone
Yes.
and to make sure that everybody's okay and everything's okay. And so it comes from such a genuine place. And at some point, right, as we go across the like spectrum of anxiety, it gets out of control.
Mhm.
And our lives all of a sudden are no longer about living and pursuing the life that we desire. Instead, it's about trying to almost like satisfy the anxiety, trying
Mhm.
to feel better all the time or trying to avoid feeling bad.
Mhm.
And then that person's not able to show up as the human being that they desire to be, right? So like I like the example about like, yelling at somebody when you're really anxious, and that dad who comes home and he's anxious and stressed out and yells at his kids or his wife and then goes into a room by himself and isolates and just thinks like, I'm a horrible human being,
Right.
something's so wrong with me.
Right.
Yeah, and the mom and who can do the same thing, or the kid who or teenager, love the teenagers yelling at their parents, I hate you,
Mhm.
right? From that intense emotional space
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then trying to move forward. Yeah,
I
listen.
love the way that you're helping me even get a deeper understanding of, because again, this like there's a spectrum, right? And that okay to have a little bit of anxiety so you can be attentive to your environment and move forward and make decisions and be bold and brave and the things you have to be. But as you're inching this way, your life gets diminished in other ways, right? And so you're serving more the master of the anxiety rather than and maybe living in reaction to life instead of, and I think that's so important because if you check in, if all of you that are listening, check in with yourself and just ask like, oh, wow, maybe I've moved down the spectrum a little bit. Okay, great. You know what? Time to get some help, right? So that leads me to ask you, okay, so you guys again, they're in Houston, Texas, but they can work with patients all over Houston, all over Texas via Zoom, which is awesome. But what if somebody has a postpartum mood disorder or they've got some anxiety challenges? Where can they, what depots can they go to get help?
Sure. The best resource is Postpartum Support International. You can just Google that. They have the ability to have you call a warm helpline, which means you can leave a message and somebody will get back to you within 24 hours. Somebody who's trained in working with the perinatal population, they can give you referrals for therapists who are trained in your area. And they also have a large and various amount of free support groups for moms and dads, actually.
Yes, because don't forget, dads can get postpartum mood disorders too. And that's maybe, Kathryn, maybe we'll have you back and we'll do a whole thing on that. That would be really interesting because that's definitely an underrepresented population. Okay, so what about you, Kristen? Tell us what resource you would like to share.
Sure. Is it okay if I share two?
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So the first one is Anxiety and Depression Association of America.
Okay.
Very similar to the postpartum place, you can go and find support groups, treatment providers for various types of anxiety disorders, for age groups, everything. And there's so much information on there. If you're scared, if you're am I crazy? Don't find out from TikTok. Go ahead and go to a reliable source, okay? And then the other one that I would promote would be IOCDF, which is the International Obsessive Compulsive Disorders Foundations. Same reason. Fantastic clearinghouse of information and resources for those who are struggling. And it, again, good information, great information. Don't go to Reddit, but find these places that have solid information and will direct you to providers, support groups, all of those things.
I love that. And thank you I know we kind of made a joke about like, don't go to Reddit or TikTok, but don't go to Facebook groups either.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and listen, I have had many people come in and say, oh, I found this thing, on one of those resources. And then I went to the next place and yes. And so I know they can be a great place, but just don't rely on every piece of information being 100% accurate.
right. Exactly. All right. So thank you for that. So now, because in honor of WO3 month, where we're here to partner, promote, and support women-owned businesses, this is my shout out time. So you guys get to shout out your own business about what you're working on, what you're excited about, what's unique about your practice. And then I'm going to give you an opportunity to shout out and pay it forward to 2 other women-owned businesses. So time to shine.
All right. So we want to shout out about our intensive concierge services that we offer to clients. We have a specialized program where we can help individuals with anxiety disorders, OCD, where you meet one-on-one with a therapist 3 to 5 days a week for 3-hour blocks. They're specifically focused on your needs. These providers meet in office. They will meet out in public, in your home, whatever is going to be the best way to facilitate recovery. We also have some fantastic support groups that we offer. Do you want to talk about yours for a sec?
Just briefly, yeah, we have a no-cost postpartum support group for any mom in Texas.
Yeah.
Not even any age requirements of how old your baby can be. We have people with 3-year-olds that still come. And then you have the free OCD support group.
Yeah, so we have an OCD support group as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, yeah, so we will have all the information in the show notes for sure. What day, just out of curiosity, what day of the week do you do these 2 support groups?
Postpartum support group is on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of the month at 12.
So good.
And OCD support group is on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday at 6 p.m. And anybody in Texas is welcome.
So good.
The other thing that I would love to just highlight for a minute is the therapists that we have that work with families where you have a kid kiddo that's really struggling with a lot of anxiety, and especially the younger kids who, when as a parent, you don't know what to do, but you feel like you're getting it all wrong. And what we do is we offer a program that we've had clinicians who are trained in called space training. And it's
Mhm.
specifically designed to support parents with anxious children and how to walk that journey with your child in a way that you're able to show up again. Just, this is the parent that I want to be. I don't want to be the parent who yells at my kid. There has to be a better way. I don't see things getting better. And
Mhm.
that is an incredibly helpful program.
Yeah, I would say that I would say that families that have 4-year-olds through 10-year-olds, and they might have like a very sensitive child where the traditional digital programs are not enough to give them guidance on their parenting. That something like that would be so valuable because it's super, so in other words, beyond a parenting coach or beyond a parenting digital program, it's like this serious customization to kind of go inside the family system and look at how everybody's operating, and then create something so that all needs are being met, the parents and the child, which
Yeah,
sounds phenomenal. And that's called space training. That's like a
yeah,
specialized.
it
Okay.
is. Yeah, it's for parents of anxious children, and it's also been applied to um, failure to launch individuals or older teenagers who just don't want to do the therapeutic work, and we can't keep a family system locked up and trapped forever.
Oh,
And so, yeah, it's there for a lot of different age groups. It's amazing.
okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That's an incredible resource. Yeah. So all right. So thank you for your shout out. So now it's time for you to shout out some other female-owned businesses that you are really excited about to share.
Sure. I would love to mention Kate Basta. She's a postpartum doula. She's served many of my clients, and she is so passionate about what she does. She provides all kinds of postpartum support, including meal preparation, nutrition,
Mm.
meeting with moms 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. She provides education to grandparents and parents. And one of the best things she does is, even if you don't work with her, she'll spend time with you on the phone and find you the right person to work with you. She's so well connected and cares so much about the patient, the moms that come her way.
Amazing.
Well, I am going to shout out about Ivy Roots with Houston Anxiety Therapy. Ivy is absolutely just energetic and just loves what she does. She cares so much about people. She works with individuals, with families. She offers a lot of group support. Um, and yeah, she's just such an amazing human being.
All right, I love it. So all of this contact information will be in the show notes, so that if any of this piques your interest, we want you to be able to find it quickly and easily. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And I just want to remind everybody that's been watching to do not forget, on March 30th, 2024 is WO3 Day. And the goal can be on that day or anytime before, is to just have in your consciousness, how can I partner, promote, or support a female-owned business? And it's so easy to do. It's no cost. You can write a review. You can go forward their blog or newsletter to a friend. You can go listen to this podcast and go look at the resources we gave you for the 2 shout outs, and then tell a friend, right? It's it's just this beautiful way to highlight and women-owned businesses that are doing really, 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 really important work in the world, and giving them an opportunity to shine in the month of March. So thank you for being here and letting me shine a light on you and all your incredible therapeutic work you're doing for families all over Texas.
Thanks so much.
Great, thank
We
you.
really appreciate it.